not just them. The whole world wants you dead. You'll have to join up with Miller. Build that private army of yours one more time. First, we need to save Miller. He's in Afghanistan.
Microsoft started with Metal Gear Solid 5, and like straight into it. Straight from the very beginning, they just started with Metal Gear Solid 5.
You're a legend in the eyes of those who live on the battlefield. That's why you have to handle this mission yourself. That's how Kaz would want it. Afghanistan is a big place. I expect you'll become quite familiar with those binoculars as you plan your next move. How and where you make it, well, that's up to you.
And you know what? I was so freaked out by it because I honestly don't remember if it was supposed to be Ground Zeroes, but towards the end, it was Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. It's kind of like a tutorial, and that's what he said. You know, it's like, I want Ground Zeroes to be a tutorial for Metal Gear Solid 5 because it's going to do the whole open world
That's
stuff.
pretty intense.
Yeah.
And I've heard of some pretty intense things about Phantom Pain in terms of the way it's going to be like on a real-time clock. And
they went through that, man. That's what I'm saying. It started off, and going into the whole Kiefer Sutherland thing, because Kiefer Sutherland's the voice of Snake in this one. What they did was, there was this rumor that David Hayter really was going to voice Snake, but Kojima, the way he is, they were still trying to keep it, you know, quiet. When they started the demo, Snake didn't talk at all. It was the guy. Yeah, the guy who was with him, and if I remember correctly, it was Ocelot.
Yeah.
But he sounded like Kiefer Sutherland. So that at that point, I was like, holy shit, David Hayter is gonna voice Snake. But then the rest of the trailer kicked in, and it was Kiefer Sutherland. So it's confirmed, like straight up.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland's gonna be the voice of Snake.
No shenanigans. Yeah. No Kojima shenanigans on this one, then.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're as big a fan as I am. I mean,
I am. I'm a huge fan.
Okay, so then does that bother you? Metal Gear Solid 24?
You know, it really kind of depends on what they do with the story.
Because Kojima's always pushing, you know, like the theme of each game.
Right.
And the theme of this one is race. You know, he's dealing with poverty, and in the trailer you see a lot of, you know, black people.
So it's
slaves.
Kojima getting on his soapbox again, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he always does it, dude.
Yeah,
but Snake Eater was where he really pulled it off. I mean, the whole, you know.
No, I mean, I think Snake Eater is probably one of my top 3 favorite games of all time.
Yeah. And this is like a return to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be pretty sick. But I'm really looking forward to Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. They even went over Quantum Break, which is Remedy's new game. And I was obviously telling you this on the way out. But what they did with Quantum Break was, it was really interesting because it seems like it was, again, another short, you know, little teaser. But they introduced essentially what was bullet time. You know, and Remedy made the original Max Payne. So, you know, the bullet time is interesting because they didn't do any of that stuff in Alan Wake. The time basically froze, and his accomplice, whoever was with the main character, can't remember the name, just said, you have 60 seconds. And once that happened, time froze for 60 seconds.
Everything he touches comes back into like his like kind of realm of time or whatever.
Yeah. But see, so it's not really understood yet, because obviously when the explosion fully took form, it cut, and it's like Quantum Break coming, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was this
You know what really kind of intrigued me, though, is you told me, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, about how there was live action in the trailer to Quantum Break, and as well as like kind of like the CG gameplay shots.
Right.
And I initially dismissed it as, oh, they just didn't have enough game to actually show. They would do that with games whenever they didn't have, you know, a lot of game to show. They would like cut together some like live action thing,
and they still kind of do that.
And, they still kind of do a little bit. They're doing that with
Halo. Oh,
with Halo as well.
Speaking of which, they had this sick ass trailer of the Halo where basically there's this guy walking up this like desert. It almost looked like Journey on PS3.
Yeah.
It's just this dude in like a cowl, and he's just kind of like walking through the desert. You know, it's all stormy or whatever. But then, you know, this big like spaceship alien looking thing comes out of the ground, and it does the whole alien ship scary. Yeah.
Like the dubstep.
The dubstep for aliens, man. So like that thing, you know, busts out of the ground and it, you know, comes up. It's all huge. So this whole time though, I'm thinking it's Destiny because it has the same aesthetic, the same color palette.
Well,
you know
I wonder why.
Right. And so what happens is, you know, the big spaceship comes out and it shoots this thing into the ground, and the shockwave sends the cowl coming off the head of the character, and it's fucking Master Chief. Yeah, this is obviously just day zero.
Yeah.
You know, that, like the show floor, I can't wait to see what the show floor is going to be like tomorrow.
Dude, you're not, I mean, give yourself about an hour just to gawk.
Right.
Because I guarantee you're not going to get anything done. You're probably not even going to, you're going to wander around lost, just like looking at stuff. I'm going to be like, hey, come on.
Yeah. The other thing was they mentioned price.
I'm excited to announce that Xbox One will launch this November in 21 markets around the world at $499 in the US and 499 euros in European markets.
This is a very interesting development in both camps.
Right, because as we were walking to the Figaro to film this, we found out what Sony's price was.
I'm very proud to announce that PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
Well, let's just make this clear. We didn't get to see the Sony press conference, and we didn't make it to the press conference because we weren't invited to that one. But we didn't get to see it because the live stream was shitty. Our internet connection at the convention center was cutting out, so we didn't get to see it in real time. The only thing we're going off of is the email that I received from Amazon almost like 2 minutes after it was over.
Immediately after it ended.
Yeah, so that's what we're going off of. The PS4 is $399. Now, the Xbox One is $499, and that's confirmed November 2013.
Sony's definitely taking it.
Well, yeah, they both are taking a hit for sure.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Sony is definitely taking it, trying to capitalize on their installed user base, really targeting the hardcore gamer segment, and really just going after them so that they can get a very early install user base.
You know what?
Because if they do that, then that makes them more attractive to game developers, obviously, because game developers are going to want to develop games for the platform that has the most.
But you're also, if it is at a price point of $399, then you're actually catering also to the mass market. Because it is obviously cheaper than Xbox One. That's $100 more.
I think that's just part of their strategy. I think if it is truly $399, I think this is just showing that Sony is going to be really aggressive.
Right.
At trying to get their system in houses.
I'll hold that part off for later discussion because, again, we didn't get to see the Sony press conference, but I do want to talk about the whole online connection where you have to have the Xbox at least that we know for sure has to be plugged in every 24 hours, right? The PS4 we don't know just because we personally didn't see the conference and we haven't been able to refresh the feed. That's very specific information. I don't think you're going to pull out like right away.
Exactly.
But in terms of games, I mean, Microsoft mentioned that E3 was going to be about games, and I think they delivered, man. They didn't show anything else but games. Yeah. They didn't do any UI stuff.
Well, and you know what? They had to at this point.
Yeah.
Because that first conference was so universally criticized for just completely ignoring the gamer segment.
Right.
So they had to pull out all the stops and just come at the market with like something game related.
And see, again, how I was mentioning that with Sony, what I'm really interested in is what they do with the indie scene. If they really fully adopt that.
Well, right now that's the buzz with Sony. We've come around full circle on that. Because I mean, it used to be that the PC platform was the easiest to self-publish your indie game.
And in a sense, you still can. But the thing is, you have an avenue to deliver it to people.
Exactly.
That is more. It's easier.
Just like I said, going back to installed user base.
Right. Oh shit, dude! Respawn.
Oh, Respawn.
Okay. So
this
Respawn,
fucking mech game that you were telling me about.
Yeah, Respawn had a Titanfall.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
And this idea actually intrigues me.
So what they showed off was when the game started, it showed. It wasn't necessarily clear if the whole game is kind of like an MMO-ish multiplayer kind of game.
Like a persistent world kind of thing?
Right, because while the game was loading, it showed, connecting, waiting for players, but there was still like a cutscene almost, but it was still loading the match at the same time.
Right.
And then once that whole thing happened, you basically jump off the plane and you basically land, and it's fucking all-out multiplayer chaos everywhere. And then there's
any
mechs
word
all
on
over
how
the
many
place.
players at once in a match?
If I remember correctly, it was 16 v 16.
So 32.
Yeah. And the cool thing was they had this like visual to it where when you run across the mech and you actually press X to load in, the mech always grabs your hand. And I thought that was very significant, It's kind of like, it's just very, like, there was this human aspect to it. When you're loaded into the mech, you're actually closed into it.
Yeah.
And the way the animation happens is the screen, you're closed in and you're completely shielded off, so you can't see anything. It's like a split-second animation, but you see your screen load in.
Nice.
Yeah. Exactly. So you know that you're being shielded off, but the screen shows up as if you're looking at the
That's
screen.
pretty sick.
It's fucking awesome.
That's pretty sick. I'm a huge fan of the Witcher games.
Witcher 3 was at Xbox One.
Oh, and see, I got a closed door interview with the
No
developer.
way.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you have that, I want you to ask him something, because something came up as I saw what they were showing off at Xbox One.
Okay.
So during the Xbox One conference, they showed off Witcher 3, and they showed off how beautiful it looked, the battle system. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the thing, though, was they introduced, like, smart glass functionality.
Right.
Now you have the Xbox One version with smart glass development. So what does that add to the Xbox One version that PC gamers won't have?
Right.
Or is smart glass, possible on PC, but only if it's Windows 8?
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so what functionality does that add? Because
I don't know how I know one thing for a fact, it's hands off.
Okay.
So I won't be able to play it.
Okay.
They were very explicit about that in the email.
Right.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take video or not.
Okay.
But I know that I will be able to take on it.
The other thing that I remember now about the Xbox One conference is the second game they showed off after Metal Gear Solid was Rise. Do you remember Rise?
Yeah.
Okay, Rise was Crytek's Connect title that they were going to have for the original Xbox, or the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And what happened was, it was supposed to be a Connect title where you fucking just move your hands, you kick and shit, and,
It's
bullshit, whatever.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yeah.
Now, it's an Xbox One title, and the interesting part is it's basically God of War on the Xbox One with the tighter, a tighter close-in camera, and quick time events.
So they made it a third person.
It's total third-person action game.
So full gameplay overhaul.
It looks fucking beautiful, but even at 60 frames a second, there was still some chug, and you could see it. It wasn't anything massive, but it was noticeable.
Yeah.
And
if you can notice it.
Yeah.
Exactly. At 60 FPS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But of course, obviously, it's not. It's not complete. It's obviously demo code that hasn't been.
But it was confirmed for holiday.
Okay.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They only got a couple of months, and those last couple of months are usually
UI.
Yeah. Prime and polish, and they're nothing. The game's not going to change from what you see it right now, as opposed to how we saw it or for Connect, and then we see what it became now.